Yeah, I'm comfortable we're going to land this plane ultimately. We all support the concepts behind the One Big Beautiful Bill. We all want a stronger border security when we want to put the nation on a better fiscal track. And there's some other priorities in there as well that are really important. Energy dominance, really important to the House Republican Conference. We've met other deadlines in the past about, responsibly raising debt ceilings, ensuring the government was funded, doing things responsibly like that under a deadline. I hope that we could do that again this time. This One Big Beautiful Bill has a couple of warts on it, but I think that we can work through that in order to get it passed ultimately.
Well, Congressman, it's good to have you back. I know you weren't happy with the level that was coming out of the Ways and Means Committee when it came to lifting the cap on salt. So are you actually encouraged by what happened in the Budget Committee today, or are you concerned about the way forward?
Well, it just recognizes the obvious. There are numerous factions within the conference who are displeased with different aspects of the bill. SALT, of course, has gotten a lot of coverage, but there are folks in the conference who are concerned about SNAP, about Medicaid, and, of course, the deficit hawks have their concerns. So there are a couple of things holding this bill up. I hope that we get to yes, but with respect to SALT is a pay-for. Mm-hmm. The bill as written right now from 2017 has the SALT cap expiring at the end of the year and going back to unlimited. And unlimited SALT over the next 10 years is valued at $1.3 trillion. And that's what's going to happen if no bill passes and if folks like me vote no and others vote no, and ultimately we don't extend those tax cuts. So I think the onus is on others to meet us a little bit in the middle. $1.3 trillion is a lot to incentivize some other great provisions in the One Big Beautiful Bill. The president's priorities on no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, the AMT fix, the lower individual rates, the lower business rates. My constituents want all of that, but we don't want to have to pay for the bill again like we paid in 2017. We want a little more fairness this time around.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Congressman, when you joined us a few days ago, you told us that this idea of a $40,000 SALT cap for individuals and $80,000 for married couples hadn't been explicitly put on the table. That was something that was obviously in this discussion. Have you gotten an explicit offer for a higher SALT cap, or is that something you're expecting this weekend? Where do things stand?
Yeah, that 40-80 dynamic unfortunately had a poison pill in it, in that there was 40-80 for 4 or 5 years, and it dropped way down to 10 again for the next 5 or 6 years. That, unfortunately, is a gimmick. It's a scam. It just perpetuates the very thing my constituents and I are opposed to right now, this absurdly low 10K cap. That was really just a used car salesman trick that we didn't fall for. We're going to continue to negotiate in good faith to make sure that New Yorkers, New Jerseyans, and Californians get their fair share, because each of us are donor states. Each of our states' taxpayers send way more to Washington than we get back. New York gets about 91 cents for every dollar it sends to Washington, while Missouri, home state to the tax committee chairman, gets $1.60, and Louisiana, home state to the speaker, gets $1.78. So we're not looking for a handout. We're just looking for a fair share and an honest negotiation on how we can move this ball forward.
Well, I know this is a big issue for you. It's something you're passionate about. Congressmen and members of the New York delegation have been strident in their rhetoric in some cases. Would you be willing to vote no on this whole thing if it meant just eliminating the cap altogether, if you can't come to terms on the rest?
If it eliminates the cap altogether, heck, count me in. Let's book it as a yes and let's move on, if that's your question.
No, I mean, would you vote no if it meant allowing that to reset to zero?
Oh, to have no deductibility on the state and local taxes whatsoever?
To eliminate the cap. To go back to where we were before 2017.
That would do it for me. Count me in if we eliminate the cap.
But would you vote no to get there?
Sorry, I don't understand your question. No, I would vote yes on a bill that eliminates the cap. Right now, the cap is $10,000. They're offering $30,000. If they offer unlimited, count me in. Let's go. Let's make America great again.
There's a chance this bill might not pass, though, according to some congressmen. You may not see it that way. If this whole thing falls apart, does that help you enough in New York to eliminate this cap to put up with not having the Trump tax cuts?
No, so here's how the negotiation is going to go. If it falls apart, if the bill falls apart in the next couple of days, weeks, or month, everybody's going to rush back to the negotiating table and say, how can we salvage this? And at that point in time, the reality will be apparent to everybody else that what is on the table at that point in time is unlimited SALT. And then we can negotiate down from unlimited rather than up from $10,000. Now, I don't want to get there, but that's the negotiating reality. as the president would say, we have a lot of the cards in this negotiation, but we want to be professionals, we want to be gentlemen about this, and we want to do what's right for the nation. But at the end of the day, you can't stick the blue states with the bill for everybody else's tax incentives like what happened in 2017. The political dynamic is much different this time around. These blue state Republicans like Lawler and Kim and others and Tom Kaine made our majority, and we can't sell them out to pay for and fund the rest of the tax cuts. We have to ensure there's some equity in this bill, and we acknowledge those realities. We'll get to yes. We need to get the president's agenda through. We need to have those overall great tax incentives for America. The negotiations will continue through both in person, over the phone, and on text this weekend, and we'll ultimately get there.
Well, of course, even if you can get there in the House, it then goes to the Senate, Congressman. And what you're describing, the fact that there are Republican members from blue states in the House, is not an issue in the U.S. Senate. Are you concerned that the Senate might actually reduce back a higher SALT cap you fought for, or look at some of the pay-fors that have been suggested, whether it's Medicaid or rollbacks to the Inflation Reduction Act, make them go away, and then you have a new problem in the House again when it comes to the total tally?
Yeah, so maybe we should invite you to our negotiating team, because those are the things that we're talking about right now. We want to ensure that if we do a deal here in the House, it's a deal that will be ratified by both the Senate and the president. So while we're having these discussions on the House side right here, contemporaneous, we want to have some assurances from others who are participating in this one big, beautiful bill. They too will ratify exactly the deal that we come to in the House. That's an important measure. We don't want to just take a vote for the sake of taking a vote here in the House and have our provisions die in the Senate. So what we negotiate here before we get to a yes here has to be assured that it'll pass the Senate and be signed by the president.
So how's it going to work this weekend, Congressman? Bring us behind the scenes, if you would. Are there a series of meetings planned? You mentioned phone calls and texts. Maybe you're going to get a phone call from President Trump, but will you be on Capitol Hill? Will you be working in committee rooms, or how does it come together on a Saturday and a Sunday with a deadline that you're facing?
So the House is not in session. Many of my colleagues went home yesterday, but as you can see from behind me, I'm still here on Capitol Hill, eager to make this deal work. I will continue to collaborate with not just members of the SALT caucus, but those who see this issue differently than me. Happy to work together, and as a conference, as a House Republican conference, we've gotten through and over hurdles like this in the past. I expect my colleagues from the upper chamber to work in good faith as well, and certainly the president wants to get this across the finish line. It is worthy of the nation's attention, is worthy to that we work over the weekend and through the night, talk, text, in person, whatever it takes, Zoom. We'll continue to keep the door open and keep the dialogue going to get this one big, beautiful bill passed.
And are these negotiations going to be bilateral, if you will, between the Speaker's office and the SALT caucus, or are you going to have to include members of the Freedom Caucus like Chip Roy and Ralph Norman, who obviously are the ones that helped take this thing in the budget in the first place? Are these trilateral negotiations?
Yeah, I think this is going to be an all-hands-on-deck effort, as it's been in the last couple of days, especially. We had a meeting yesterday in the Speaker's office with members of the Republican conference whose politics are much different. We had folks in there whose districts Trump won by 50, and those who Harris won by 3, 4, or 5. People with different constituencies, different priorities, different views of the world. I think it's important that we continue to talk with each other. I've been talking and texting with some of those folks here who come from some of those deep red districts. You know, we all have to come together at the end of the day to put this nation on a better track. You know, we're a nation $36 trillion in debt, $2 trillion deficit. A lot of folks are living paycheck to paycheck. They're eager to see Washington Republicans come together to ensure that we have a tax bill, an overall spending bill that's best for our country, and we'll work with each other regardless of political persuasion to ensure that gets done.